Hey everybody, it's Gamer Gramps here. Today we are going to be doing a Civ 6 tips and tricks video. We're going to have 5 tips that you can instantly put into your game today to help you win a little bit faster. I mean, don't get me wrong, these aren't groundbreaking, earth-shattering tips by any means. However, they are small things that can add up over the course of the game, especially if you start using them all the time. So if that sounds like it might be something you want to learn more about, then definitely stick around. If you want to get good at Civ 6, then subscribe and click the bell to keep up with this channel. Alright, so 3 of the 5 tips in this video are going to be basically focused on the Domination playstyle, so I figured we'd start with the 2 tips that can apply for every type of win condition first. Tip number 1 in today's video is going to focus on policy cards. Those of you who follow my channel probably already know this. When talking to newer or casual players, I always stress the importance of properly taking advantage of the huge bonuses policy cards give you, because they're probably the easiest and at the same time most powerful thing you can actually work on to make the jump to higher difficulty levels from where you're currently playing at. Relax, that isn't the tip, I swear. Once you start using policy cards more often and swapping them in and out on a regular basis, there's going to be certain times, especially in the early game when your culture output is limited, where you're going to want to take advantage of a policy card, but then you're going to be stuck with that policy card that's basically doing nothing for you for an extended amount of time, like 10 turns or something like that, because you have to hard tech the Civic because the inspiration just is not a realistic option for you to get right now for whatever reason. And it gets frustrating sometimes because if you're stuck with that card and who it's so important that you used it at the beginning, but then it's not doing anything for you for the rest of the time, it just seems like a complete waste when you could have a card slotted in that's going to help you throughout that entire 10 turns. A perfect example of this kind of situation would be in the early game if you're planning to chop out a wonder in a science or a culture game, or start chopping an army out in a domination game. So you want to take advantage of the Land Surveyor policy card to get a 20% discount when purchasing tiles, because you're about to buy a ton of them so you can chop them, but after you buy the land, that card might as well be a dumpster fire because all of your gold's already gone, and you're not going to be buying any more tiles anytime soon, so the policy card is essentially useless at this point. So finally, here is a helpful way to avoid this. Whenever you finish researching a Civic and can change your policy cards, you can go ahead and do that. So switch into whatever policy card you really want to use, but isn't going to be much of a help to you after you use it, and you don't want it to be stuck slotted in. For our purposes, we're going to continue using the Land Surveyor card. So we reached a Civic and put our card in and confirmed it's locked in. Now let's go buy all those tiles that we want to chop and save a bunch of money while we're doing it. There. Remember that every time you buy 5 tiles with this card on, you essentially get a free tile for the same amount of gold you would have spent in the first place. However, here's exactly what I was talking about. Now, we've used the policy card and are stuck having to wait an extremely long time before we switch out of the card, because there's no way we're going to research the construction technology in time to boost the Games and Recreation Civic. So here's what we're going to do. Now, we're going to go and change our government from the chieftain we're in at the moment and move up to autocracy so that we can get an extra 10% production towards the wonders and all the bonus yields. And there you go. Because we switched governments, we get to go ahead and select brand new policy cards, so we can now dump out Land Surveyors after we've already taken advantage of it and bought in all those tiles for cheap. And we're not stuck with it being slotted in for such a long time, so we can replace it with a better card that we're going to get the most use of during that time. Obviously, there is a limit to how many times you can do this in the game. The easiest transitions are when you're moving up tiers of government, like we just did from chieftain to autocracy, or from autocracy to monarchy, etc. However, you can use this technique anytime that you research a new Civic, as long as you choose the cards, use them, then switch your government afterwards. Keep in mind that if you switch to another government and then the next time try to switch back to an old government that you've already used, you get a penalty of 3 turns of anarchy, so you won't want to do this too often. However, maybe you went into Classical Republic to get 3 economy cards and earn some extra great people points, but now you want to chop out an early wonder or 2, so you're going to switch into autocracy. That would be a perfect time to do it. Or maybe you're playing Domination and you went into oligarchy because you were in an early war and wanted that bonus experience for your troops, but now you're at peace and you want to switch into autocracy to get the 10% production boost towards chopping out the terracotta army and getting all of your troops a free promotion. Another great time to use it. Like I said, there obviously is a limit to how much value you can get out of this technique, but that doesn't mean that adding it into your playstyle isn't worth it. Really, what do you have to lose? Hey everybody, Gamer Gramps here. I'm quickly interrupting just to say that if you're enjoying the video, please do me a favor and leave a like on it if you haven't already. It does really go a long way towards helping the channel get discovered, and clearly, you know it by now, I'm special. I need all the help I can get, right? Anyway, on to tip number 2. This tip is all about how to properly take advantage of chopping production into districts or wonders when the tile you want to place that district or wonder on itself has a lot of production, like a stone or a forest, that you'd like to chop into said district or wonder rather than piss it all away down the toilet, or be forced to chop it into something else rather than the wonder or district itself. In a previous tip video of mine, I did cover this fairly well. The reason I'm bringing it up again is because recently a viewer of mine, shout out to Chris Neal, blew my mind when he told me about this. And I know, relax, it's nothing crazy, but small things entertain small minds, alright? But anyways, I'd always been under the impression that for this to work, you have to clear a production slot, which you do, by the way, that is true. But I always thought that I had to time it out perfectly with a building or a unit finishing production, so oftentimes I'd have Magnus get established, but still have to wait a few turns before doing the chop. Usually, this isn't the end of the world, but then there's sometimes those extra turns you have to wait would be the difference between you finishing the wonder on time or an AI sniping it on you and you being SOL. Now here comes the part that Chris told me about that is so much more convenient. Now, whenever you have Magnus established and want to chop the production from the tile into the wonder or district, all you have to do is go into the city's production queue. Keep in mind, this is the actual queue that came with Gathering Storm or whatever it was, not just their production list. So once you go into the queue, simply right-click on whatever they happen to be building at the time, and voila, no more production. Now you can feel free to chop that tile while you have nothing being produced, then place your wonder or district on the tile that you just chopped, and that chop's production will be added to your district or wonder. No more having to stress about timing things out properly or getting stuck waiting for a building or unit to finish. Alright, so tip number 3 is most often only going to apply to domination games, or the odd time you're playing a science, culture, or religion game, and you get dowed on or you spawn too close to another civ and think you'd be better off killing them to quickly grab their territory. This isn't exactly a groundbreaking tip by any means, but at least by learning this, you are the one that gets to make the choice, whether you want to have an extra era score, or whether you want to have a better chance of actually still having people to trade your luxuries and strategics to. So when you've taken over an enemy civilization and they're down to their last city, you basically have two choices. Either take over the city and gain +5 era score, but doing so is going to create grievances with literally every other civilization remaining in the game, or you can piece them out, taking basically all of their gold, all of their luxuries, and keeping what you've already conquered, but not getting that +5 era score, but also not stacking up all those grievances with the entire world. Most times in a domination game, you probably will end up just killing them to take the era score. However, if they're the first or second civ you're conquering and the whole world doesn't hate you yet, you might want to piece them out and let loyalty run its course. If the city flips to a free city, you're welcome to conquer it without generating the grievances, although you won't get that +5 era score. And by not generating all those grievances with everybody, you have a better chance to lock a couple of them into declared friendships, which will mean that you'll actually have somebody to trade all the extra luxuries you're going to be getting as you conquer the world, and the extra strategics that you don't need to upgrade your units. And if you aren't playing a domination, then if you don't desperately need the +5 era score in order to secure a golden age, I'd suggest you don't kill the city, because the sooner you can lock your neighboring civs into formal friendships, the sooner you can relax and not waste production building a military other than to have the certain units you need to boost techs and civics and defend against barbarians. However, with all that being said, if you do decide to completely kill anybody in a game, another little tidbit of info here is to make sure that you conquer their capital city first and leave a different city to wipe them out with. If you take or burn all of their cities and leave the capital for last, you're going to lose out on 4 era score points. If you take their capital and then kill them off, you get +4 for taking the cap, and then another +5 for killing them, giving you 9 total. However, if their original cap is their last city, you only end up getting the +5 era score for killing them, and you lose out on the +4 for forcing them to move from their original capital. The fourth tip is something that everybody should keep in mind when they're turning units into cores, armies, and armadas, etc. In a peaceful game when you're basically only combining units in order to get eurekas or inspirations, this is probably less important, but every now and then it would still hold true. But in a domination game, this is very important, and it's crucial to do this properly if you don't want to waste the hard-fought promotions you've accrued on your units. When you form a core with 2 units, they don't combine their individual promotions. For instance, if you have 2 archers who each have 3 promotions, you don't get an archer core with 6 promotions, you get one with 3. The game will automatically take whichever unit has the most promotions, and when combined into a core, the new hybrid unit will have the promotion level of whichever unit had the most, or the exact same if they both had identical amounts of promotions. What this means is that you want to make sure you choose which units you combine into chords wisely. It is definitely worth it to take an extra few turns moving units around if you have to, in order to get your highest promoted units combined into chords with your lowest promoted units. That way, when all the combining of units is said and done, you have the absolute strongest groups of chords possible, which will give you a significant advantage as you continue to conquer the world, compared to if you hadn't given this a second thought. Just wanted to take a sec to let you know I'm now an official partner of Fanatical Games. They're a great company that you can buy 100% guaranteed official game keys from, which is great because you purchase a Steam key so you don't have to worry about using a different installer like Epic Games or EA's Origin. You can find links in the description down below for both the Windows and Mac versions of the games I usually cover on the channel. But if you're buying anything else, just leave a comment below and I can give you a link for any game you're looking to buy. Believe it or not, they have deals on regularly that are even cheaper than purchasing directly from Steam itself. A perfect example of this is the New Frontier Pass for Civ 6. I literally bought it directly from Steam yesterday when it was launched, only to find out that it's on sale for 12% cheaper at Fanatical for the next 6 days. So before grabbing your next game, consider checking out fanatical.com to help yourself and help support me at the same time. The final tip in this video is going to be about how to gain an advantage in a domination game by using a spy to help get some extra combat strength. A lot of newer players don't really use spies very often, or if they do, they don't really use them until the end of the game if they happen to be trying to protect a spaceport in a science game. Spies are actually an extremely powerful unit that can help give you a tremendous amount of gold income by siphoning funds in any win condition, stealing great works in culture games, or protecting your spaceports in science games. All that is great. However, they can also give you a nice little bonus in a domination game too. Similar to how having completed a trading post in an enemy civilization can give you +3 combat strength versus that enemy, as long as their city with the trading post hasn't been captured by you yet, a spy can do this for you as well. This is how you'd want to leave whichever city had the trading post in it as long as you could before killing it so you could keep the +3 combat strength. You want to send your spy to one of the furthest possible cities in their empire that you know about so that you'll have the advantage as long as possible. Once they're established in the city, simply run the listening post mission and you instantly have another +3 combat strength when fighting this civilization's units. And by the way, if the spy does end up getting promoted to a secret agent, he gives you +2 levels of diplomatic visibility, which equates to a +6 combat strength advantage. For this reason, if you are on a fairly even level tech-wise with whoever you happen to be fighting at the moment, I'd suggest sending the spy somewhere else to do the Siphons Funds mission to help level them up a bit first before you do the listening post job. The reason I say siphoning funds is because of all the possible mission types, that one usually has the highest chance of completion, so you're less likely to have the spy be caught or killed. I'm not sure how experienced you are, but I'll put a link in the top right hand corner of the screen right now to a tutorial video I've done where it teaches new and intermediate level players the basics about how to plan your cities properly in order to have the most productive cities possible, and how to make sure you're putting your districts in the right position, and how to use some thought and planning ahead of time so that you ended up getting the strongest possible cities you can. It covers the whole concept generally, and then I go specifically into each victory type and how to set up cities properly for that particular victory type, and there's timestamps pinned at the top of the comment section so you can just jump through to whatever part you're interested in if you don't want to watch the whole video. Other than that though, I do want to thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please do me a favor and leave a like on the video. It really does go a long way towards helping a small channel like me get discovered, and clearly I need all the help I can get. But anyways, I've rambled on enough for this video at least, so I'm just going to shut up and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.